welcome, welcome. My name is Olivia Owens, and I am the Creator Partnerships Manager here at Teachable. If you're new to the Teachable community, welcome. Teachable is a no-code platform for creators who want to build a more impactful business through courses, coaching, downloadable content, and community. And I'm so excited to kick off a new series we'll be hosting on a monthly basis called Powering Your Business with Teachable. Through this series, you'll learn how Teachable creators are using the platform to grow and scale their businesses directly from them. And today's session is for the podcasters or aspiring podcasters out there. We'll be digging into how creators are using courses to monetize their podcast. I'm honored to be joined by Kati Kleber and Gina Conley. Kati and Gina, thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Beautiful. Well, I would love to start off by giving each of you the opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the business that you run on Teachable. Kati, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I started my business. Actually, I'm celebrating my 10-year blogging anniversary this week. Yeah, pretty crazy. I started it back then and started courses in 2018. So I've been doing blogging and whatnot, and speaking in books and all that. Is for nurses as they transition to practice. School and real world are completely different. And I noticed as I transitioned through that process that there was an educational gap. So I started filling it with social media, then blog posts, then books, now podcast, and then courses. So I've been podcasting since 2016.
Wow, an OG. We love it.
I love that. OG,
Gina,
that's what's up.
Gina, how about you?
So we've had Teachable courses since about 2020. So right kind of when the pandemic happened is when we started to create online courses. Prior to that in 2017 is kind of when MamasteFit started. We primarily focus on prenatal and postpartum fitness training and childbirth education. So we're kind of in that perinatal timeframe, mostly focusing on kind of the expectant family. We started as an in-person training facility, still train people in person with fitness training and childbirth education, expanded to the online services during the pandemic. And then more recently in the past 2 months, we actually started a podcast, which we've had a lot of really good feedback from. Kind of what started our Teachable journey was our social media platform was really taking off and the demand was there for an online course. So it just kind of made sense to provide what the people were wanting. And so we provide a lot of childbirth education, a lot of fitness tips for pregnancy and postpartum.
Amazing. Yeah, the pandemic was definitely a strong catalyst for many people to move their businesses online. And today's session is all about monetizing your podcast. So can you share a little bit about how, I think on Kati, your end, how you've grown your podcast, and then Gina on your end, kind of what growing your community to the point where you reached that demand level was. Kati, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I, like I mentioned, had been doing blogging and some social media stuff, and I had a book at that point one book at 2016, and I noticed that the value in just the conversation and not just the written word, and how new nurses especially really wanted to hear the break room chatter, hey, what are the nurses actually saying, and how are they working through their problems, and what do they actually know, pathophysiology, how deep do they understand things, and how do they navigate issues. So I was I had a friend who was into sound engineering and video production back in 2016, and I was like, can I do that? Doing a podcast seems doable. Can you help me? And I started with recording in one day. We got 10 episodes done, and I got such great feedback, and have had so many nurses over the years and students say, wow, I this podcast has helped me so much. And it's helped me just have the courage to walk in the door before a shift kind of thing, because it's such an intimidating environment. So as I noticed it was getting more popular, more helpful, we kept making more and more episodes. And it has become a pillar of my business, but not what it rests upon, if that makes sense. It's my credibility booster, I guess, or so you can hear me and other experienced nurses talk through things and think, wow, okay, you must know what you're talking about. I would like to see the other things that you have to offer. And that's how, at the beginning, we didn't do that. It was just really just providing the value. And then having the courses is more of an upgrade of like, okay, if you want to dig deeper, because I could talk about this for hours, so let's talk about it for hours somewhere else, kind of thing. So
I love it. And in those earlier days, how did you determine how much to share in the podcast episodes versus what to keep for the courses? Where were you able to draw that line?
yeah, that's a tough one, because like I couldn't figure out what is free, and and because there is this line of like, I'm not trying to like make myself rich off of, you know what I mean? I really genuinely want to help nurses as they transition, but this also takes a lot of time. And when you start getting into podcast, you're buying stuff, you're hosting things, and this isn't free for me to do, and it's a ton of time. So I would talk about kind of like some more basics, or dive deep into certain things. But with nursing, there's things where you need to see it. You need to have downloads. You need to have checklists. You need to have multiple things to walk through, and a more like the courses are more of a cohesive presentation of a full topic. Here's everything you need to know if you're starting as a med-surg nurse. Boom. In a podcast episode, here's a little taste. So it's like the full recipe versus like an ingredient kind of thing. And you are limited because you can't provide like, do these things in this order. So that's kind of how I would navigate it. But it was challenging for me to figure out how deep do I go into these conversations. And then if I found myself, wow, this is a very complex topic that's requiring like 5 episodes to appropriately explain, it's like, that's probably better housed in a course with appropriate curriculum is kind of how I would gauge that. But there were times where I was like, oh, that probably should have been behind a paywall for how much time and money I'd put that together. And then, but you live and learn, you figure out that stuff, but it was definitely a challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you for breaking that down for us. Gina, on your end, you've grown such a strong, powerful community. What has that looked like? How long has it taken you to grow that community? And then where did the podcast come into play with that?
So our social media started to really take off probably in like 2019, before the pandemic. We were just putting out like a lot of educational content, just kind of gauging like what kind of content folks were like mostly interacting with. And then just kind of kept going like, all right, people want to be educated, but with social media, you can only give like a very basic, like the superficial layer of education. Like if you dive too deep, engagement sucks. Like you kind of lose people because you got like 30 seconds to like educate. Mm-hmm. And so we're giving everyone like all these like tastes of things, and they're like, oh, this is really interesting. And then they're like, well, we want to learn more from you because we trust you based on social media. Like we like your personality. We like kind of the content that you're putting out. And so I trust that the course you're going to put out is going to be the same level of quality, but it's going to be, again, like more cohesive. It's going to be in order. It's not just random, like social media. Like we're not putting like on day 1, we're giving you day 1 of our course. It's like, here's day 49 and then here's day 7. And then you're kind of like jumping all over the place. And then for us, we have pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And then, so you've got these 3 different topics. So we just kind of like weave them all together. And so with the course, it's this like chronological, like very cohesive way of like presenting a topic that we could dive a lot more in depth with. Because now I have longer videos that I can do. I have those printables with our fitness programs. Like we have like daily workouts that you can have that have a specific demos and stuff. And so you can't give that for free because it's just not realistic to do that on social media. It's not realistic to do with a podcast either. But like the more that people can hear you talk and the different platforms that you present kind of similar information with different ways of delivery, the more you're going to reach different people who are going to be like, wow, I'm really interested in what you have to say. And I want to pay you money to listen to you talk more or to teach me more. And so we've got people that only follow us on Facebook, and we've got people that follow us on Instagram. And then we have a very small TikTok. TikTok scares me, so I'm not on there very often. We have a YouTube page, and now we have our podcast. And so we have all these different avenues to kind of direct people to the same source, which is our paid courses. And we have a blog. So it's like all of these different avenues for people to kind of get funneled to the same place. And then we have the same people that are kind of on Instagram that jump to our podcast and all that. But because of kind of the community that we built before we started, we tried to do a podcast last year, But my co-founder, who's my sister, moved to the other side of the country, and it made it kind of hard. And then she moved back, so now we're good. It's easier to do it together in person. But we had our social media platforms. So we have like 200,000 plus followers that are all like really excited to learn from us. We have however many students in Teachable and how many people doing our fitness programs. And so all of these people are like, we're like listening to you talk. And so we're really interested to listen to you on.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, is that just, I didn't know if it was just me.
I know, me either.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there she is. You're back. We lost you for a second.
I was like, what just happened? So it just becomes another funnel to bring people to the same source. And again, like I'm putting a lot of time and energy in it. I'm probably giving away too much information. We have people that message us that are like, I never paid you for anything, but I had an amazing birth experience. I was able to work out great throughout my pregnancy. And I'm like, well, that's rewarding. Like I have enough other people that want to pay me for my courses that like it all works. Like in the end, like it's okay that I didn't make that extra $100 off that one person because I had 100 other people that signed up for it. And the other thing that we did before we started our podcast was we already had like partnerships with different brands just from social media. And we just asked them if they wanted to continue to partner with us to sponsor our podcast. So it became a paid revenue source for us. And it's not like a ton, like it barely pays for what we pay for all our equipment and for like our editing. But it's still like, okay, well, it's not like, it's like not just completely volunteer work, but again, it's another funnel to bring people back to the same place, which is the Teachable platform so that they can pay for our courses.
Yeah, just another kind of megaphone for you. Kati, well, first I want to say it sounds like both of you have leveraged social media for that trust building exercise, giving people the confidence of what you're talking about. Other people are trusting what you have to say. There's that level of validation. So when it does come to the point where they're going to decide, do I want to invest in their courses? I've already received X level of value. So investing in that piece is a no-brainer. So I think that social media can be such a tricky thing for people to jump into. Gina, your comment about TikTok, like same. But I do think that if you can find the platform that you're most comfortable showing up on and then reframe the purpose of why you're there to add value, build trust, and let that be your guiding light versus like massive expansive growth or virality, things like that, it'll help you work up the mental energy it takes to sit down and record a video or whatever it is. Kati, I want to jump back to you because you shared that you rarely do sponsorships for your podcast because you're really using it to promote your courses. Because podcasts are such not a kind of like one-to-one experience. If you listen to the podcast, you are easily able to click a link and navigate somewhere. Kind of how have you created that funnel from your podcast to your courses?
Yeah. So what I've done is I have for every podcast episode, I have show notes. And in those show notes, I have an opt-in, at least one opt-in that that connects to a course that I've had. So I've created in the way that I've organized my business because I do have various courses. I've created kind of content pillars. So I have my cardiac, my med surg, my neuro, professional development, general, like I have 9 separate pillars, and I don't make a podcast episode if it doesn't fit in those pillars. So then that way I can categorize them and I can put in the opt-ins that I have. And then that's how I can get email capture, get those leads because whatever I've talked about in the podcast episode is directly related to the rest of the content that I have. So in the episode, I'll say, hey, head to freshrn.com/podcast, check out the show notes. And the latest episode's always at the top. And that way it's a super quick URL. I'll tell you a mistake I did make with trying to capture leads from podcasts, because I love Pat Flynn. I love other podcasters who are doing really well in their niche, not necessarily nursing, right? There's only so many nursing podcasts. So, I'm like, I remember listening to some of their podcasts and they're talking about how, we do this thing where it's like, you put a number at the end of your URL and that corresponds with the show number. And you can just say it very quickly in your show. And then that's where you can have all your freebies or whatever. So I tried that. But man, that don't work unless you got a big team. because you've got to know ahead of time what number the episode is going to be before you record the episode. You have to and you can't change it. You have to always know where you are. It did not function operationally for me with a small team, like me and a VA, a couple other people. I don't have a Pat Flynn team, right? So that didn't work for me, but being able to maintain this freshrn.com/podcast URL that I'm always directing people to and making sure that I connect. So I'll have my podcast show notes. I'll have my opt-in in there. I often have a YouTube video. So then I connect those two. So I have backlinks. And then I will connect it to any of my other relevant blog posts or podcast episodes to create more backlinks and strengthen the Google love there. So that's how I tend to pull people from podcast to my courses, because they get the opt-in. I get the email because most of it is email marketing, and then they get a pitch for whatever course is in that pillar. So that's how I tend to do that, because I think I was doing sponsorship, a lot of sponsorships before, and those people the people who buy the space have realistic expectations of, I want to know analytics. Hey, I want to know how many people heard this. I want to know, you got to stay up to date with all of the realistic expectations they have. And I was like, oh, I don't have time to do all that. I'd rather push them to my courses, because I could sell 5 courses and that would cover a whole sponsorship with one episode. So I decided I'm only going to take those if they are very connected to my mission. And if they're really really, really helpful. So I recently did one with Picmonic. It's a nursing school support system. I actually really like the program. And I was able to pick how the episodes, they just wanted little slots in there, and it organically fit with a lot of the stuff that I was doing. And I also was able to negotiate an affiliate thing too. So it's not just here's your one-time thing. It's for however many leads I get them, then I also get a cut of that too. So I want to make sure the deal is sweet enough to justify the effort and the coordination. Because I used a lot of time doing stuff that ended up not being as beneficial for me. I learned that if it's not a heck yes, it's a definite no. And I had to learn that the hard way. So.
As we do, the hard way oftentimes is the only way, which I can appreciate. I wanted to dig in a little bit further for the opt-in that you have on the podcast link. Is it some type of freebie that then is putting people into an email sequence that highlights the course? You're not directly sending them to the course landing page at that point.
Correct. So for example, for my IC, I have a crash course for new ICU nurses. My opt-in is a Teachable mini course, ICU drips for beginners. And so what I'll do is you go to my show notes. I also often mention the opt-ins in themselves in the course, in the podcast. So when you opt into ICU drips for beginners, I'm giving you a ton of value. I get PDF. I'm explaining it all. You're getting used to my teaching style. I think it's 4 lessons on Teachable mini free course. Then I get their email, and then I have I want to say it's a 4 email sequence that's hey, that was great. Here's a summary PDF. Then the second one is did you like my teaching style? I can dig even deeper if you want. Here's my other course. And then testimonials and risk reversal, my refund thing. And then all those emails are, if you buy it, you're excluded then you don't get the follow-up ones. And then I have you drop into my regular weekly evergreen newsletter to continue nurturing. So maybe right then wasn't the best. Then I can repitch later.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much for pulling back the curtain on that piece. Gina, on your end, I know you mentioned you're doing both kind of the partnership sponsorship side of things and pushing the courses. For those who are curious on how to secure partnerships for their podcast, how have you, I know you mentioned that you've leaned on partners that you've worked with before, how have you structured those partnerships? Are you doing the affiliate thing as well? What do those look like?
So there are two brands that we have like established a pretty good relationship with. So one is Crossover Symmetry. We've written programs for them. We have an affiliate through them. They're the bands that we recommend for all of our fitness programs, and so a lot of our fitness clients will buy those bands, and so we have a pretty established relationship with them. They haven't sponsored any other podcasts, and so they were just excited to continue to work with us. And then it gives us an opportunity to continue to promote their product. And then they help also to promote our podcast as well, because they're really excited about all the stuff that we have to offer. Our other partnership is with Needed, which is a nutrition company that we do a lot of work with. And so both of these brands we've been working with for like several years. And there's a lot of like collaboration between the two of us. So I wouldn't reach out to a brand that I didn't already have a relationship with, or that didn't already trust me as an education source for potential clients for them. Because we were a really new podcast, like we had no episodes published yet. All we had was our social media and our good name. And so we needed them to trust that like this was going to be a successful thing for them. And it was also just like hey, like I want to support you just like we've been supporting, like you've been supporting us, vice versa. And so it just continues to help build the relationship for us. I don't think that we'll reach out to any other like brands to sponsor the podcast, especially if we don't have this established relationship with them, or one that we know is not also going to like ask like, or that is not going to like help promote us as well. So it becomes just building this relationship between the two of us. So with Crossover Symmetry, we have an affiliate model with them as well. And then we promote them in all our fitness programs. And then with Needed, because of the laws in California, we can't have an affiliate with them because my sister is a licensed nurse. And so because of the laws, if you're a licensed practitioner, you cannot receive affiliate money from like certain types of companies. I think it was like a new thing that passed. And so we just have a partnership with them. That's like a monthly rate to post certain types of content on social media. And then they also sponsor the podcast. So we found our sponsors just based on relationships that we already had established. And it just became another avenue for us to continue to like grow with this other brand. And then we use our show notes as well to promote different blogs that we have that kind of cover similar topics. We put our podcasts and embed them within our blogs that of similar topics to kind of keep funneling people back and forth. We have a contractor that does a lot of our SEO stuff. And so he helps to improve the SEO on the blogs that have the podcasts on them, and then give like, hey, if you like this blog, go check this course out kind of thing. And then we have an email marketer that does a lot of like that funneling and workflows and stuff for us as well for some of our freebie courses that we only have 2. And now listening to Katie, I'm like, I need 8 more. I'm like, how do I make pillars? I'm making pillars now. I'm like, I kind of wanted to take notes myself, but I was like, I'll wait till afterwards to take some notes. But yeah, so that's kind of how we do it. We incorporate a podcast into our blogs. We also take a transcript of the podcast and we make it its own blog and add in our YouTube videos and stuff as well. Because some of our concepts are hard to understand. If I'm like, hey, do this exercise and it's going to help, and then I have to talk someone through that exercise. Like I'm a visual learner, I'm a kinetic learner. And so if I could hear someone talk about it, but it's kind of confusing. And so I'm like, all right, well, we'll put a transcript. We'll write it a little bit better for like a blog format and input those videos and pictures and things. And also buy this course. It's really great. And then promoting our sponsors and stuff as well. So that's kind of how we go about it, which I feel like is similar to Katie. She's probably got the email marketing side down a little bit better than us, but we're learning, and I'm learning from her in this meeting.
And that is why we do these sessions. I love it. And on that note, I kind of want to dig a little deeper into the free mini course of it all. I feel like when I talk to so many creators, there is a strong desire to launch a course, to teach, to share their expertise. But in terms of taking that desire and realizing it into something that they can offer, there's this big gap that they're trying to leap over. And I think part of that is because you can overthink what it takes to add value. And so I'd love for each of you to share for the free kind of offering that you're providing. Katie, I know you shared it's 4 lessons. How long are those videos? How many digital downloads are you actually providing so people can get a real sense of like, okay, this is what I actually need to create to just get going with this? this?
So what I originally did because I've been with Teachable so long, before you could do like free mini courses, I actually did an email course on ConvertKit, and it was a 4 email thing. So no video. It was each were probably about 2,000-3,000 words. It was a long email. And then the 4th one was a summary highlights. But the way that I figured out what to do is, I think a lot of people hit a roadblock when they're like, I don't know what to make the mini course on, because I think we overthink and we forget what it was like to be a beginner. And so like the course I'm pitching, ICU, a crash course for ICU nurses, breakthrough ICU. I'm like, okay, what would be like when I was fresh in an ICU or brand new as a nurse, and people are talking about drips and titrations and Levafed and Neo and what. So basically, I took the most basic thing. I act like you had never been in a hospital before, never touched a drip, don't even know really what the word drip means, and like defined it all. Like you don't know any of it, but doing it with kindness and warmth, because people, when they're beginners, are pretty nervous and vulnerable, and they need that kindness there. So like that, so I would pick something to flesh out, and then I decided, this is the topic, it's the drips. Let me break it up into 3 or 4 sections, and then I wrote a decent amount. Now I actually did a new mini course that is doing very well. I released it 2 weeks ago to promote my med-surg course, and I've picked another pain point. And if you can demonstrate with your pain point, like they want to know you credibility wise, like, do you know the pain I'm going through with whatever issue this is? And if I can flesh out the pain point and provide a solution, even if it's in a very specific thing, that is a huge credibility booster. So a lot of new nurses are nervous about giving report. So I did a new mini course that's 5 lessons. I think it's 4 videos, but they're short videos, 4 to 5 minute videos, and 2 downloads. And then you get that, and then I'm going to send you my pitch for my med-surg course a little bit later. And actually, at the end of it, I'm like, well, I do dig even deeper into my course. So if you like it, you can check that out. And so it's been good. Actually, I've been happy with the performance of it lately. I launched it, and I was really happy with how many. So I'm going to make sure each of them have like multiple options for opt-ins and whatnot. But I think that can be a really helpful way to get started with those.
I love it. Yeah, Gina, how do you think about your freebies opt-ins that you provide?
So kind of the 2 like teachable courses that we have that are freebies. One's is just kind of like a sample of a larger course that we have. And so one is like the pelvic floor prep for birth course. And this is essentially like one video from each of the major sections in this longer course, so that you have kind of a sample of, hey, this is how I'm going to teach you. These are the kinds of movements that you can expect. And this is why our course is better than everything else that's out there that relates to the same topic. And so each of the videos was filmed specifically for the mini course. So they're not going to get the full course, and it's just going to be repeated. And it only took me like 2 hours to film. So that's the other thing when I'm developing these mini courses, they can't take a lot of my time either, because it shouldn't take someone more than like an hour to get through as well. Because again, it's just a mini course. And so for the pelvic floor prep course, it was like a 5-day mini course. They got an email every day with like the next video that came out, directed them to the Teachable page. They opt into our workflow, and then they get emails like, if you like this, try these other 8 things that we offer. Because email marketing is where we make most of our money. And so like I'm posting on social media, I'm posting in my stories, but that really fluctuates. And it just really depends on if someone is logged on at the time that you're posting and if how much they're engaging with other pages. And so social media is great to like get people in the door, but email marketing is where we really see our sales. And so like I'll post like, hey, we have this webinar coming up on social media, and then like 10 people sign up. I email it, 20 people sign up. And so it's like email marketing is kind of where you're really trying to get people's emails and then direct them to the emails that they're wanting as well, especially when you have various topics. Like for us, pregnancy all the way through postpartum. Like, I don't want to be targeting a postpartum person with all my pregnancy stuff. Like, I want to only really send them my postpartum. But people also will go through this phase of life like multiple times. So it's kind of like, well, they might be pregnant eventually. And so it gets a little like, you don't want to just exclude somebody because they gave birth, because eventually they'll probably be pregnant again. And so that's like our pregnancy focus course. And then we also have a pelvic floor focus course for the postpartum period. That's like our early recovery program. And so this is for somebody who's day one postpartum before they would start one of our fitness programs. And so it's kind of introducing to them like kind of our vibe with how we approach postpartum fitness training and recovery. It's a 4-week course. There's definitely a lot more videos in it, and it took a lot more time for me to create. And initially it was just going to be a freebie for a few months, and then we were going to start charging for it. But it's just been really successful with giving someone kind of this like foot in the door, and then most of them will go out and buy our full programs because they're like, okay, well, this really supported me in the beginning. I really like that you're not trying to make me bounce back or like fit into my pre-pregnancy dreams. I trust that you're going to take care of me as I'm healing postpartum. So I'm going to pay for your bigger postpartum course. And so we have our freebie that I probably could charge $30 for and people would still buy it. But now people are buying my $200 course instead. And so it's like, well, I'm getting way more people to buy this bigger option by offering this freebie that I probably, again, could charge for, but I'm choosing not to because it's been a really successful funnel for me. And then we also have like, we did just create like a sample of our fitness programs course because we deliver them in different, we have like an app that we use. And then we also have videos on Teachable that are like workout videos that you follow. And so we give them kind of this sampling where we get their email. They're in our Teachable directory. And then they get like a better look at what our programming looks like because, you know, $250 program is like a lot of money to invest in. But if you kind of know what to expect, then you're more likely to want to purchase that option. And so we have that little sample freebie as well. That also comes with an ebook that's like a general guide to working out throughout your pregnancy. And so we have some ebook offerings as well that are just like little freebies that are like 5 to 10 pages long. Just again, just like you could probably get by with it if you like really didn't want to pay for anything. But like, I got your email, so I'm just going to keep spamming you until you buy something. And then I'm not going to spam people, but like, once I get your email, like it's easier for me to market like my credibility to you. And then I'm probably going to come up with something that you're like really interested in. And then in regards to like, how do you develop your course or your mini course? And I have folks that we have some professional courses that are like for people that want to be prenatal fitness trainers or want to be birth workers. And they're all like stuck on, I want to create this perfect program or this perfect product. And I just kind of tell them like, hey, when I filmed my first course in the middle of like the pandemic, I borrowed a camera from my friend. I had no microphone and it was awful. Like the content was great. I really appreciate the people that like the first 100 people that signed up for it. But it was awful quality. And like, we had to like the next week after people took the course and they were like, for the love of God, please get a microphone. We went and we refilmed the whole thing with a microphone. That was still not a great microphone. Now we're refilming it again for like the 4th time with like better equipment because we just keep improving. Or now we're going back and we're improving like, or updating like content based on like new evidence that's come out or new things that we've learned over the years. And so it's okay to start with like 80% product. Like no one's expecting perfection. Like you're a human being. And like, if they're connecting with you on social media, they're connecting with you through your podcast, they know that you're a human. Like that, these are 2 avenues where like you can interact with a person and that you understand it's not like baby centers, childbirth education course. Like this is Gina's course, like Gina is teaching you kind of thing. And so it's okay if you don't have the whole solution, like right away, like you should continue to learn and to develop like what you're teaching, what you're creating. And it's going to be like a continual process. Like my fitness programs from the first day that I started, garbage. Like, thank you people that trusted me at the beginning. Now much better. And they're going to continue to improve. And it's okay to not have that perfect product right now. Cause that's usually what folks get caught up on when they're like, I want this to be perfect in every way. And it's, hey, it's okay. Like most people are kind people. Like you'll get a few like assholes out there who are just like not having a good day. But generally like people they understand that you're a person and that then you still have value and you still bring something to the table, even if it's not filmed professionally or with an amazing microphone or like in your closet or whatever. Like you still bring value to the table, and sharing your knowledge and your expertise is still worth it.
Absolutely. And I think that we are so willing to give other people grace. And it is fair to anticipate that reciprocation of grace for sure. Something else that I wanted to flag as we were talking about, once you kind of figure out the topic that you want to talk about, how do you want to structure that framework? I don't know if you two know this yet, but a couple weeks ago, Teachable rolled out an AI curriculum generator. So in the product, you can literally go and type in the title of the course that you want to create, write a paragraph of what you want the course to be about. You can say, I want to create a mini course about drips for new nurses, and I want to focus on the main challenges that they're going to experience. And the generator will actually create a course outline for you in product. So then you can just go in and edit the topics to perfection of how you want to position it. But we've taken off that burden of, well, what should the modules even be? Or how can I structure this? So we have a link in the description of this video to go check that out. You can just sign up for a free plan to take advantage of that. But I think I'm really excited about the opportunity to use AI to break down some of the barriers that are keeping people from getting to use a tool like Teachable to actually make money in their businesses. So just wanted to put that out there for everyone. And Gina, you touched on something that I wanted to talk about as well. This conversation about kind of beating the algorithm and no longer relying on social media as the kind of growth lever for your business. So I'd love to hear from each of you kind of how you're looking forward in your business, or if you were a creator getting started today, kind of how would you focus on launching and getting your business up and running? Katie, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, so I've been on social media for a long time with my business and learned a lot of things along the way. And one of the things that I think is really important is analytics. I use Google Analytics to know where I'm getting all my referrals from. And while I was spending all this time on like Instagram, back in the day, Facebook, and other things, I learned that those analytics can provide such powerful information. Like I can spend hours on Instagram making reels and making this and making that. But like Gina mentioned, there's like, casual scrollers, not necessarily someone who is motivated to like solve an actual problem right now. And what I found was when I looked at my analytics was that I am by far getting much more hits from Pinterest and from YouTube. It makes sense, right? Those are essentially search engines. You have a problem, you're looking for a solution. So whatever you're going to find, you're much more motivated to complete an action on it. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be what helps me with my time management, because with a business, there's a million things to do. I don't want to spend 10 hours on Facebook or 10 hours making TikToks if that's going to turn into 20 clicks. And if I could spend that same time over on YouTube and get 300, I mean, the trade-off is clearly there. So I think one important thing is to not get like focused on vanity metrics. People can have a big follower count, lots of likes, lots of shares, but if that's not turning into moving the needle for your business, there's a lot of time wasted there. I mean, what was that one chick like 4 or 5 years ago who had 2 million followers and couldn't sell 36 shirts? Like, you want to make sure what you're providing value to the point where people are going to buy something, and part of it is meeting them where they're going. So, and I also, with analytics learned while social media is part of it, it's a small part of it. I mean, most of my traffic is from Google or like direct traffic. So it's like, I don't want to allocate too much time focused on algorithms and things. I want to make sure I have the best quality stuff that I've got. Like, I can't remember what it was. It was like 8% of my traffic comes from social media. 70% of it comes from Pinterest. What am I doing messing around on TikTok right now? If I only have so much time, I need to put it where it should be. And even though it feels weird to spend more time on Pinterest than TikTok right now, I'm realizing how important that is. And so I think that's one thing is like, while there might be virality and like, yeah, like TikTok is great. You can get a lot of eyes on things, but if that's not, turning into something, I think it's helpful to make sure you're wise about where you're spending your time, I think, with that kind of stuff, and not get too focused on having the reel or the video or the whatever that is shared a whole bunch, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think for creators with smaller followings today, I think a lot of this conversation is geared towards try monetizing as soon as possible, right? Like with the audience that you have today, to know if you've attracted the right people, A, or B, if you're developing the right content that's actually in demand, which I think is the ultimate value of a social media platform. Like, oh, this topic struck a chord. How can I make a mini course about that? Or how can I make a digital download about that? Versus how can I get more and more and more and more followers, because the content ideally is going to drive that. Or Katie, as you mentioned, the content is going to drive that from whatever areas people are actually looking for it. You can hypothesize, but those analytics are really going to validate it for you. Gina, anything to add on that piece?
So we get most of our traffic from social media, but we have to be very like deliberate on how we use social media. So I'm not just trying to get viral posts, because those are usually just like cute, funny, make you cry type of things, but that doesn't tell anybody what I teach, and like it's potentially gaining me followers, but it's not necessarily people that are interested in what I have to offer. And so gaining like an organic following is definitely really important. So like Katie was saying, just having 2 million followers doesn't necessarily mean anything if you got them from doing like, it's like big play giveaway or something like that, where it's like, oh, so you bought followers. Like if you buy followers, it's not helpful for you. You're not going to be able to monetize from those people because they didn't start following you because they gave like the crap about what you were offering or what the kind of content that you had. And then also people go through phases of life. And so like we have a really large social media following, but not all of those people care about us anymore. Like somebody liked us like 8 months ago when they were pregnant, but now they're postpartum and they're like, this is irrelevant to me, but they're still following us. And so it has to be like a continual growth as well to meet new clients, potential clients. And so like if you are kind of plateauing with your followership, then you're potentially not reaching any new clients also, because all the people that were interested have probably already bought your course. And if they were interested at some point, they may be beyond this phase of their life as well, to where like you're relevant to them. And so it needs to be an organic following. Like doing giveaways and different things to try to get new followers is not necessarily helpful. Mm-hmm. Like large followership sometimes gives you credibility, but like if someone has a large following and they have like 30 likes on their posts, like they probably didn't gain an organic following. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely really important. And then being very deliberate with the type of content that you're putting. Like I'm only going to really post content that is going to funnel someone to a course. Like I'm not going to just post like, oh, here's my like favorite recipe. Like I'm not a cooking page. Like I want people to buy my courses related to fitness programming for pregnancy or postpartum, or my childbirth education courses. And so all my content is going to be related to those. And it's going to be just kind of like the icing, like here, take a lick of this content. And then if they want more, they got to dive deeper with me. And so that's kind of how we use social media to funnel people to us. But again, like it's not our only source. Like a lot of our sales come from somebody that's interested in a freebie that we have. They give us our email and then we go from there. Or they've bought a previous course and then kind of seeing, okay, well, what's the next phase for this person that's already bought something from us? So they've already shown interest, pulled out their credit card, typed it in, and then like paid us to be in a course. What's the next course that they need? Like, and then using that as my next leverage. And so I'm definitely focusing way more on the people that I have on my email list, and then the people I already have in paid courses or in my mini courses that were free. How can I show them that I have more for them, that they can continue to work with me, they can continue to pay me to support them in the kind of that next phase of life. And so kind of anticipating what's next is also like really helpful for us as well with the people who have already paid us. So social media is just the start. creating content that is relevant to the courses that I offer. Like viral posts are not bad to do. They get you a bunch of new eyes, but those new eyes don't necessarily mean anything. And then kind of really leveraging all of this other stuff, that email marketing, like who's already in my courses, to really kind of continue to monetize, and then not waiting. Like I'll get folks that are like, well, I only have 10,000 followers. I'm like, yeah, that's 10,000 people that might be interested in what you have to offer. Like I only got 1,000 followers. Yeah, that's 1,000 people that might be interested in what you have to offer. Like I think I posted a picture of like a workbook that I made, and I made $1,000 that night, and I had like 500 followers, and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. Like I should keep doing this. And so you don't need a ton of followers, because those people that chose to follow you when you had like 50 people really like what you had to say, or it's your mom. And so like, but beyond your mom, there's 49 other people that were really interested in following you and what you had to say. So I would almost say if you had a small followership, those people are probably more invested in you, that they took the time to like click the subscribe button, as opposed to if you had like a ton of followers like us, like it's just like lemmings, where they're like, oh, well, everyone else is following MamasteFit, let me follow them too. So definitely don't wait to start monetizing, and to give someone an option to pay you for your efforts and for your time, even if it's just an ebook, even if it's just a small course, even if it's just something, because you don't want all this time on social media to be a waste. Because if you are trying to reach a global community, it doesn't make sense to not have an online offering. Like as we'll have people that are local to us that are like, oh, partner with our page. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. You don't have an online offering. Like I don't have that many people in our local area that follow me. Like if you get an online offering, I'm all about partnering and supporting you. So if you're spending time online, give people that don't live near you an option to pay you money for your time.
All the options.
That was such a good point though that you made about staying consistent with what you're posting, because if you're trying to build a following, and like if I'm starting to post about I'm trying to teach people stuff, but all I'm posting about are skincare things, nobody's following me for skincare, and that confuses people. And I've seen that with people who are trying to sell courses, do things, but then they're posting about like their recipes, their skincare, or they're hiking, or they're this or they're that. And it's like I think that is one thing that people can like, oh, they want my opinion on everything. But it's like, if you're just warming up your audience, like staying super focused on like whatever it is your expertise is, I think is so important, because it confuses people, and then they're less likely to like jump into buying your stuff. And I think that's one thing I did before, like years ago, where I was like posting about all these different things, but when I really focused in, and people have that predictability that, okay, this is the account where I'm getting all the nursing stuff, I'm not going to hear tons and tons of personal life stuff, because they're here for this professional version of you, or whatever version it is that you're marketing. But that's such a good point that I like forgot about, but learned the hard way too.
Amazing. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to you both for spending some time with us today and really sharing the behind the scenes of how you've built such amazing businesses. Before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to share. Where can people stay connected to you? Where can they get your offerings and take advantage of all the value that you have to provide? Katie, how about you start?
Yeah, so my website is freshrn.com, and you can check out all my blog posts, my podcasts, my courses from there, and including all my free stuff. I also right now I'm having my 10-year anniversary sale, where I never have sales, and I have 30% off just this week off of my Teachable courses. So you can go to freshrn.com/courses to see all of my different offerings, including all the free ones. So that would be the best place to go. And then, probably get on my email list. I think that would be a smart thing. You should probably just get on my email list, and it's right there at the top.
Love it. Gina, how about you?
So everyone can see all of our courses and fitness programs on our website, MamasteFit.com, which I guess if they see this video, they can see how it's spelled. Because a lot of folks will spell the middle part a little bit wrong. We have a huge Instagram following where we post a lot of content there. We have a ton on our blog, just MamasteFit.com/blog. And then we have our podcast as well, which you can find on our website or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube as well. And then our 2 freebies, we have our Pelvic Floor Prep for Birth mini course, and then our early postpartum recovery course, which is a ton of pelvic floor rehab for folks from birth until you're ready to start a fitness program.
Beautiful. Awesome. And if you have listened and you are now inspired to create your first mini course or create your first course, you can get started with Teachable for free. We have a link in the description so you can get access to that AI curriculum generator and play around with it and figure out what your first course can be. We'll be back here next month with another panel about powering your business with Teachable, featuring our creators. If there are any topics that you'd like us to cover, make sure you drop them in the comments so we can keep those in mind. And I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks.